At first, the power sword was one, and then it split apart, like the yin and the yang, becoming one wielded by He-Man and one used by Skeletor. Someday, the swords will be reunited and combined to restore the power of Grayskull.
How the hell does that dude fit in that tiny ass car? There is no way that is a goddamn car. That's a freaking micro machine.
I'm looking for sailors. Do you know any place where sailors hang out? I'm looking for sailors.
ここから3ブロック先にある公衆電話だ。かけてみな。
Remember to click like, subscribe, the bell notification, and whatever else YouTube has you clicking on to support us. Welcome back to another horrifying Halloween month review. I am the Kaishin no Kami from the Toku Animation News Network, and today I'm taking a look at Garo Goldstorm Sho. No thunder or lightning now? Huh, okay. 2 weeks after Garo Goldstorm hit theaters, Goldstorm Sho premiered on television and continued where the movie left off. As with the feature film, Keita Amemiya led the series itself as both the director and head writer. The Goldstorm film was a return to form for Garo. Does Sho continue that fact, or are we back to mediocrity? Watch to find out. The heroes! Ryuga, Rion, and the 100-year-old priestess Ryume are back, along with some new friends. At the end of Goldstorm, Ryuga receives an upgrade to his armor that made it look quite similar to his armor from the One Who Shines in Darkness, but with more gold on it. Zaruba received a new form that gave him some sort of mask cover. Not sure how it's remotely effective, but okay. Unfortunately, Ryume's protection over Line City was weakened thanks to Ago, which meant horrors could now enter the city. Thus, Ryuga and Rion have been stationed to assist her in defending the city from the monstrous threat. The camaraderie between the duo continues to be the series' shining moment. Their interactions with each other keep Sho engaging as you strive to see where their relationship is headed. Rion is absolutely in love with Ryuga at this point, and while Ryuga does feel the same about her, he is extremely dense in knowing she does, to the point where he is called out twice on it by another priest and even the series' lead villain.
幸せから遠ざけてるんじゃないかって。リアンの幸せはお前次第なんじゃないのか。どういうことだ。確かにこれじゃあリアンの幸せは遠いな。
行きたくてたまらないんだぜ。本当は。
行きたいはずだ。
違う。お前と行きたいってことだ。
俺たちは共に戦う仲間だ。共に生きている。
だからそういう意味じゃないって。案外鈍いんだな。
どういう意味だ。
I wasn't a fan of Ryuga and the One Who Shines in Darkness, as I just didn't find the character to be all that great, but he has grown on me quite significantly since. It helps that he is being written by the expert on the Garo franchise, on top of Kiriyama having grown as an actor. Although, to say he is perfect would be a lie, as he does still struggle with his performance every now and then. Same goes with Nanri for Rion.
リアン、俺も同じだよ。弱くてずるい俺がいる。
なんだよ。
なぜこんなことをしている。
ただ荷物を指定場所に置いて待ってるだけだよ。理由なんて知らないよ。
雇い主は誰だ。誰なんだ。開けるな。こんなガラクタのせいでたくさんの人々が。私の商品だ。私の。
竜がダメ。光を沈めて。
Nevertheless, the negative moments did not bother me as much here as it did in the previous season. Ryuga also cracks a joke every now and then.
俺が魔界に届けてやるよ。30分以内で。
As with the film, I still love watching Ryuga and Rion enhance each other's attacks. He also has a cool new attack added to his sheath. Ryuga's armor gets another addition that includes a flying mode that is pretty damn badass. He's also matured a lot as a Makai Knight and isn't as reckless as he was in the past. Rion continues to pour on her dreams of rebuilding a priest training ground in the Kantai region of Japan, while also wanting to live there with Ryuga as a married couple. She also knows life does not always work to everyone's desires, as she witnessed when a woman bound to be married the following day was attacked by a horror. Rion has just as many moments of badassery to display as Ryuga does, which was nice to see considering the previous shows did not always give the priestesses equal amounts of screen time. My only true criticism with Rion is towards the end of the show she seems to become a damsel in distress character, which is a shame considering how she avoided that aspect in the previous season. Ringo and his wife return, but instead of owning a kebab truck, they have a pawn shop, which does disappoint Ryuga. Yukahime has a lot more dialogue compared to the film, which seems like utter gibberish. What the hell is that supposed to mean? How do you even know what she's saying? She might as well just be saying, I am Groot. New characters include a priest-sibling duo and an axe-wielding Makai Knight who I think is supposed to be a bear. For our priests, Gaud and Haruna are from a village that was slaughtered years ago by a crazed Makai Knight. Well, actually yes. In this case, it is. This event made Gaud hate Makai Knights with extreme prejudice to the point where when he was given a choice to be a knight or a priest, he chose the life of a priest. At the start of the series, an ancient castle of horrors is released from its imprisonment. Gaud has been tasked with retrieving 2 daggers that combine to create a sword that keeps the castle locked away from humanity. Hiroki Nakajima does an exceptional job at portraying this arrogant brat who thinks he is better than everyone else and can accomplish his job without help from anyone else. He loves to show off too. There is a moment where Rion feels the need to put him in his place, leading to a pretty cool duel. Although, it is kind of by the numbers. Haruna is played by Moko Komatsu, who was Lupin Yellow's best friend in Lupin Ranger vs. Pot Ranger. Haruna is a frail girl who seems to have trouble walking at times, but does whatever she can to serve her brother. She typically stays behind on missions and speaks to Gald through an interesting looking doll head. Actually, that hair makes it look like it's the skeletal remains of a treasure troll. You don't know what those are? Oh, you lucky, lucky soul. Tomohito Wakazaki from Ultra 7X has entered the Garo universe as Makai Knight Giga.
命令違反とはいえ同志の判断は正しかった。大勢の未来を救ったじゃないですか。だから同志は
Daigo Akazuki is his name, and he's actually an instructor at a local knight training school. He starts out almost as arrogant as Gald was, not really wanting to work with Ryuga and Rion until they proved their worth to him.
こんな荒っぽい戦い方じゃいつか命を落とすぞ。
俺はこっち、あんたはそっちだ。
お前の指図は受けん。お抱えの魔界奉仕へ。口の利き方を教えた方がいいぞ。
I will say he doesn't have as much screen time as Takuru and Aguri had in The One Who Shines in Darkness, and yet he has far more development in just a handful of episodes than they had. His master is killed at one point, initially setting him on the desire to avenge him. This also makes him vulnerable, to which Ryuga calls him out on.
あんたに加わってもらおうと思ってきたが、やっぱり気が変わった。
どういう意味だ。俺も行く。俺じゃ不服か。
ああ、不服だね。
Besides being a solid character, it is pretty awesome having a Makai Knight who wields an axe as their weapon. I also dig the more turquoise-like color scheme he is blessed with, as it makes him stand out from the darker tones we typically see. He actually reminds me of Tsubasa from Makai Senki in that regard. Ryumi continues to show off her badassery despite her age.
Ryuga は因果のあるオブジェを封印しに戻りました。さあ、若い騎士らしくなったね、Ryugaも。
Yes, Princess Padme. I did forget to mention in my review for the movie that the scrolls she has in her hair do more than just make her look like she stepped out of Star Wars. The villains! Thankfully, Amemiya has tossed out those lackluster Las Plagas horrors to give us tried and true monsters. I absolutely hated the way the horrors were done in The One Who Shines in Darkness. 2/3 of them were just regular people with CGI predator mouths, while the other third were complete CGI monstrosities. And even then, half of those all shared the same body type. Thankfully, Goldstorm Sho has brought us back to the basics of a horror. Not only is there a great balance of CGI horrors with practical suits, but Goldstorm Sho manages to give us some of the coolest looking horrors in the franchise. Between The One Who Shines in Darkness and Makai no Hana, there was only one horror I truly found to be all that memorable in design, which was a horror movie loving creature. Here, we've got so many incredible designs, be it this butterfly looking dude, the twins,
Come play with us.
a plant horror who is a very polite businessman,
私こういうものです。
ああ、そうですかって。渡すと思うか。
渡さなくて結構です。自分で奪いますから。
Huh, that brings a whole new meaning to kill you with kindness.
あなたのせいで残業ですよ。
One who is made of electricity,
あらジンが確かウェルダンがお好みだったわよね。
an aquatic critter that takes on the form of a woman as if she were a siren to enchant people, mid-boss warning, mid-boss warning, mid-boss warning. one who eats delivery drivers,
ピザ食わしてくれよ。あるじゃないか。美味しそうなのがここに。いただきます。
Have to wonder if that pizza is made by Domino's, because if the option was the driver or Domino's, I'd eat the driver. Among many others.
A deadly curse, a deranged killer, a small town in tears. Knife after dark.
Oh, can't forget the water horror who dresses like he's from the 90s. As a whole, these are the best damn horrors we have had since Makai Senki. However, Sho's biggest asset is in the fact that this is the first Garo series to have an actual main villain that is consistent throughout the entire show. Or in this case, villains. Normally a show goes by without revealing who the big bad is until the halfway point. And even if they show up sooner in the series, they only make cameo appearances until the late half. It's quite similar to a Final Fantasy game, where the true boss typically doesn't show up until the last minute, which was the case with Messiah, Ganon, Zedam, and Iris. Sho, on the other hand, pulls a Final Fantasy VI and gives us our Kefka right at the start of the series with the Addams family. Sorry, I mean Jinga and Amari, but they might as well have been named Gomez and Morticia. At the start of the show, Jinga and Amari have kidnapped a priest's daughter and forces him to remove the seal from some crystal-looking thing they call Ladan. The priest begs for them to let him and his daughter go, to which they review they had already killed her.
心配すんな。約束は守る。約束通り合わせてやったぞ。
What's important about this is it immediately tells the audience these two are a credible threat. It's also apparent right from the start that these two are meant to be an antithesis to Ryuga and Rion, for they once were a Makai Knight and Priestess before they sold themselves to the dark side. I guess they really wanted those cookies. Seriously though, very late in the series we find out why they ended up the way they did, and in all honesty, what they did that made them horrors was justified.
怒りと悲しみのあまり、私たちは次々と村を襲い、人々を殺しました。
It's a tragic story, and one that really seals their cause for what makes them great villains beyond being evil versions of Ryuga and Rion. It's also nice to see that they both support each other. Jinga can only transform through a mirror Amari wields, which allows him to protect Amari from threats that may be too much for her to handle. Jinga also gains upgrades to his strength by devouring other horrors, particularly if that horror has just gorged itself on a multitude of humans beforehand.
なぜここにいる？ディナーデートさ。
今のホラー、とっても美味しかったわ。
子供をたくさん食ってたからな。やっぱり餌は大事だな。
To wipe out humanity, Jinga and Amari have decided to unleash Ladan upon the world. Ladan is the ancient castle I mentioned earlier in the review that also seems to be the most gothiest transformer that ever gothed. I also got a lot of Castlevania vibes from Ladan.
Die, monster! You don't belong in this world!
What is a man? A miserable little pile of secrets!
My only issue with Jinga is how bad actor Masahiro Inoue sometimes decides to chew the scenery. He will overact, which I'm not sure if it is by accident or on purpose to ease the tensions of some viewers into laughter. It is funny, yet distracting at the same time.
そうか。じゃあ俺たちの好きな殺し合いを始めようか。
Other than this, Jinga is hands down the best villain the franchise has had thus far. Also, if you didn't know, Inoue is most notable for being Kamen Rider Decade. Miyave Matsunoi is no stranger to the Garo franchise, as she played Karma in Red Requiem years before becoming Amari.
間違えないで。あなたの相手は私よ。お嬢さん。
Matsunoi doesn't ham scenes up as badly as Inoue does, but there are a few moments where her character feels a bit inconsistent. Nevertheless, they are one of the best villainous Toku duo ever. I also got a kick out of how they insult Ryume whenever she joins in on the fights.
こんな年寄り引っ張り出して黄金騎士も落ちたもんだな。
老いばれのくせにやるわね。
The effects and music. This scene alone tells you all you need to know about the effects and music of Goldstorm Sho. I love it. Oh my god, it's just like the camera's moving, they're all moving, the camera's moving around, it's zipping in and out, it's like, oh, it's so awesome. This has to be the best fight sequence in all of the Garo franchise. Oh my god, the camera work, the music, the fight choreography, everything is just perfection. The CGI is used when it makes sense and doesn't look as awkward as it did in The One Who Shines in Darkness. There are some incredible flying sequences with Ryuga's upgrade form. Watching Ryuga and Rion battle a horror together is equally exciting. This superimposed sequence is nothing short of stellar. As I said earlier, we get a balance of practical suit horrors and computer-generated ones, and both are effective because Amemiya knows when CGI works and when a physical suit is the superior method. I could go on for hours as to why this show kicks so much ass in its effects department. Goldstorm Sho's music continues to rock, which should be no surprise given Terada and Kiriyama have continued their tenure here. Like with the movie, there's a good mix of old tracks with new ones. everything I had to say about them before remains. As to be expected, there are 2 openings and 2 closings that follow the normal Garo formula. The first opening is an instrumental piece with some chanting by Jam Project to really set the tone the series is portraying. Jam Project returns with the second opening, titled Emerge, Shikoku no Tsubasa. I like Emerge so much more than what we had in the previous show. It hits the right notes for what an opening should entail. The ending themes are both sung by a team of female actors from the franchise who utilize the name Makai Kage Kidan. This team includes the actresses who portray Yukihime, Ryume, and Rekka, along with Irio Zeki, who voiced Anna in the first anime series. Prayers is the title to the first ending, which I think is the superior of the pair. It's bouncy with its electronic goth synth. Alternatively, I found Giren Byakuren to be an utter bore of a song. It's just not that good. The episodes. This show does not have a single bad episode. One of the things I loved about the first 2 Garo seasons was its balance between individual stories and story-based ones. It did a good job of using the standalone ones early in the show to world build before sending you into the depths of hell with its narrative. The One Who Shines in Darkness tried to be a complete serialized show, which sacrificed the world building aspect. It was a real shame given we were brought into a new universe that we knew nothing about. Then, Makai no Hana focused a little too much on standalone episodes with little plot development. It seemed like the Garo franchise was never going to win. Until now. Thanks to Jinga and Amari, every episode has plot development while also allowing the show to feature individual Horror of the Week storylines that enable us to learn about the inhabitants of Line City while keeping the narrative alive. For example, we have a random bystander that a horror begs Ryuga to let her devour. To which he obviously refutes. Episodes later, that random woman shows up asking Ryuga and Rion to help her find her sister.
話している途中に悲鳴が聞こえて。それから連絡がつかなくなったのね。
The girl and her sister then appear once more towards the tail end of the show. I really love the way the show introduced random people and then had them appear continuously, signifying that everyone lives within the walls of a single city. It is only natural that they would run into each other multiple times compared to other shows where the heroes will save the same city over, but never see the same person again, even if it is a small town. It's little details like this that make the show feel like it resides in an actual living, breathing society. Then there are the individual stories that really allow a horror to show its diverse persona like the earlier seasons did. It brings back that mini-movie feel to the show I sorely missed in Ryuga's first outing. The horrors are back to being creepy because of this. They're exciting to watch, and they all tie together because of what the atoms are trying to accomplish. They are ultimately there to serve their needs, which can often be seen through butterflies Amari has sent around the city. There's a connection that many of the horrors are created by a museum owner who is sending cursed objects across the city to turn people into horrors. It's as much intriguing as it is suspenseful. This is the first time I can honestly say I am stumped to really speak on an episode I disliked the least because there was none. Even the annoying clip show had redeeming moments in it. Instead, I will say my biggest negative about Goldstorm Sho is that the plot can feel dragged out by the 23 episode count. Amari and Jinga unseal Laden right at the start, but nothing actually happens with this plot until episode 16 because they have to wait until the next full moon to occur, which seems to take freaking forever. Worse, the climactic battle is essentially the last 10 episodes of the show as they are preparing for their final encounter at episode 13. However, everything that occurs is so engaging and entertaining that this minute mishap is really a non-issue. After all, 7 of the 10 episodes to Hellsing Ultimate take place over the course of a single night, so it's not like this is anything new for a horror-based show. Of course, given I don't have an episode I disliked, it also means picking a favorite is a tough call. The one with the Demon Siren and Electric Horrors were fantastic, as was the one with the magnificent fight sequence I showed off earlier. However, I'm going to pick episode 5, Crime. Crime is the episode I referenced earlier with the girl Ryuga and Rion saved in the first episode, wanting them to find her missing sister. They learn she was kidnapped by a horror and investigate her last known whereabouts to try and find her. We've got a CD bar that clearly knows who she is but doesn't want to talk about it.
この子知らないか？リサって言うんだ。
リサ？
さあ、知らねえな。
A hotshot gangster who finds himself trying to intimidate the wrong duo.
ふざけやがって。
I just love how unresponsive Rion and Ryuga are when he shoots at them.
ふざけてなんかないよ。
A cursed typewriter that turns a man into a horror. It's getting a little Resident Evil up in here. An incredible fight sequence between Ryuga and the horror that feels like it stepped out of a Yakuza Like a Dragon game. Not to mention there is a first-person moment in said fight. Everything about this episode is just perfection. Oh, and don't forget about the payphone that has a rotary dial on it, but is actually a touch tone. Not only does Goldstorm Sho make up for the follies of its predecessor, but it may have just become my favorite Garo series to date. Thus, I am going to give Garo Goldstorm Sho a solid, spectacularly amazing 5 out of 5 grown-ups in spandex. It is that damn good. It is worth visiting Vol City to make your stop in Line City. I highly recommend this to every horror and Toku fan. Until next time, bye.
Nobody cares for the woods anymore.